everyone, and thanks for joining me for another creative journaling video. I'm really glad to have you here, so let's just jump straight in. I'm using the Winsor & Newton ink to get started on these pages. I'm randomly just painting it all down and I kind of had a vague idea of what I wanted to do on this left page, but not really at the same time. So I was kind of just making a bit of a mess, and I'm going to go back and forth between the two elements here, the portrait and then the black page. I'm just waiting for one to dry while I work on the other and vice versa. So at this point I'm just going in with my Tombow grayscale markers. They're the only Tombows that I own at this point. I love them. I use them all the time for my sketches and my portraits. And I have had a lot of people ask me how I actually use them to draw portraits, and so I thought that this video would pretty much answer the question for them. I used them primarily to establish a lot of values, like blocking in those values, the heavy shaded areas, the highlights, and because they are water soluble, I also use the clear colorless blender and mix it all together so it, I don't know, it's kind of reminds me of those girls on YouTube that do the makeup tutorials and they do the Kim Kardashian contouring, and it looks kind of crazy to start off with, and then they blend it all out with a beauty sponge or whatever it is, and it looks so smooth and airbrushed. And I suppose that this is kind of a similar way to do your portraits too. So yeah, as you can see, it's kind of still looking a little bit crazy, but this is technically an underpainting of sorts. The notebook that I'm using here is the A5 Midori blank notebook. Obviously it's blank. The great thing about this paper is it's very thin. I mean, not as thin as Tombow river paper, but it also is going to take a lot of product. With this portrait on the right hand side, it never actually ghosted onto the other side of the page, let alone bleeding through or anything like that. On the left here, I'm quickly just adding in the day of the week, which is Wednesday, as you saw, and I wanted to do like a Star Wars style font because, as you'll see in a moment, this journal entry was all about my husband and I. We basically had I wouldn't say a date night because it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, but we both managed to get out of the house. His mum was able to look after our daughter, and we got to see the new Star Wars film, and it was amazing. We just loved it, and it was really a lot of fun, and I guess that's why I wanted to do a portrait of Rey. I really like Rey, or Daisy Ridley. Except the only thing was I wanted to put a quote next to her, and I remember kind of paying a lot of attention to the dialogue in the movie, especially when Rey came on. And it was a bit of a bummer because she didn't really come out with anything overly quotable. There was that really great quote by Leia, and it said something about hope being like a sunset, and I thought that was so cool, but I think that would be too conflicting to put that quote with the picture of Rey. But anyway, I'm waffling. What I'm doing here is, now that the portrait or the underpainting is dry, I've gone over the top of it with a bunch of cool toned grey prismacolor pencils. For anyone who sort of wants to give this a bit of a go, it's really important not to press too hard with the Prismacolor pencils, because in a way you would be burnishing the pages, and because it's a wax-based pencil, it's not going to be able to grab any more of that pigment. So, Prismacolors are all about building up those layers, and if you burnish too early, or, I try not to burnish at all, especially with this paper, you might sort of run into some problems. I wasn't too happy with the eyes at this point, so I went over the whites of the eyes with my Uniball Signo white gel pen, and it's a really fun pen to use to establish all those highlights and the loose strands of hair around the face that are getting some of that sunlight. And yeah, getting a little bit rough around the edges because I didn't want to spend too much time on this portrait. I still had the rest of the journal entry to do. And on the left side of the page here, I wanted to do a galaxy design to sort of fit in with the Star Wars theme. Then I went ahead and cut out my photo that I wanted to use, and I also had the cinema tickets. I was struggling a little bit with where to put the photo, but I ended up finding the bottom left just kind of looked a little bit more balanced. There was that sort of negative space on the black there that's kind of empty. So I just went back in with the white pen and did another constellation drawing. At this point, I'm just adding in a few little details like some tiny word stickers, some sparkly silver washi tape, and I found this really cute die cut of a popcorn in a black and white bucket. And at this point I'm just journaling. So yeah, if you like what you've seen so far, please give this video a thumbs up and please also consider subscribing to my channel. And also be sure to check out my other videos, particularly on bullet journaling and also creative journaling, and you'll see a bit more of what I do. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.